They ran naked, they fought to the death, and if you cheated, you might actually die. Welcome to the original Olympic Games, where the motto was more sweat, blood, and broken bones than faster, higher, stronger. Forget everything you know about the Olympics. What really happened in ancient Olympia is wilder than any myth. Today, we're busting the biggest myths and revealing the jaw-dropping truths behind history's most hardcore competition. Let's travel back to the games that started it all. Let's start with the wildest myth: lose at the ancient Olympics and you die. Sounds like a gladiator movie, right? But it's pure fiction. The Greeks didn't execute losing athletes, that's a Roman Colosseum thing. But losing was still brutal. No silver medals, no consolation prizes, just public humiliation. Losers were shamed, avoided, and sometimes even snuck home in disgrace. Winners got parade statues and free meals for life. Losers, nothing but disappointment. The psychological pressure was immense. You weren't just competing for yourself but for your entire city's honor. Some athletes in the pancration, the no-rules combat sport, chose to die rather than submit. So, while you didn't face execution, the shame of losing was so intense some would rather die than admit defeat. The stakes were sky high and the pressure was relentless. The myth of death for losers? Busted. But the reality was a different kind of agony. In ancient Olympia, losing meant social death. The games were about glory or disgrace. And that's what made every match a fight for survival. Welcome to the real high-stakes Olympics. Did ancient athletes really compete naked? Absolutely. The Greek word gymnos means naked, that's where we get gymnasium. Competing nude was a tribute to the gods, a celebration of the human body, and a way to prevent cheating. It was also the ultimate flex, showing off years of training. Only men could compete or even watch. Married women were banned on pain of death. So yes, the Olympics were a massive, all-male, all-nude sporting event. It sounds wild, but for the Greeks, it was tradition. The naked truth, 100% real. Think the ancient games were safe and civilized? Think again. Wrestling allowed finger-breaking. Pancration was MMA with almost no rules, no biting or eye gouging, but everything else was fair game. Matches ended with a knockout, submission, or death. Chariot races, total chaos. Crashes were expected and being trampled was a real risk. There were no safety regulations, just raw, violent competition. The games were a test of survival, not just skill. The ancient Olympics were anything but safe. Victory meant everything. Losing could mean injury, or worse. These were the most dangerous games in history. Forget sportsmanship, it was all about domination. The crowd loved the violence. Welcome to the original extreme sports. No gold, silver, or bronze medals in ancient Olympia. Winners got an olive wreath, just a branch, twisted into a crown cut from a sacred tree. But that wreath meant everything: honor, glory, and the favor of Zeus. Back home, champions were legends. Parades, statues, free meals for life. The real prize was eternal fame. Forget medals. In ancient Greece, victory was its own reward. The olive wreath was priceless, and the perks, unmatched. The ancient Olympics were not open to all. Only freeborn Greek men could compete. No women, no slaves, no foreigners. Athletes had to swear an oath to Zeus and prove months of training. It was an exclusive club, celebrating Greek superiority. But there was one legendary exception: Caniska of Sparta. She owned a winning chariot team, making her the first female Olympic champion, without ever setting foot in the arena. She even had a statue at Olympia. The rules were strict, but clever minds found loopholes. For most, the games were off limits. For a few, they were a path to immortality. The Olympics were about Greek pride and breaking barriers. Caniska proved it. The Olympic truce, Ekacheria, was real. Wars were supposed to pause so everyone could travel safely to Olympia. For centuries, the truce mostly worked, showing how sacred the games were. But peace wasn't guaranteed. Sometimes, city-states ignored the truce. Spartans were once banned for breaking it. In 364 BC, a battle broke out during the pentathlon. Arrows flying as athletes competed. The truce was a noble idea, but politics and ambition sometimes won out. The Olympics brought rare peace, but not always. Even in sacred times, war could break out. The games were a symbol of unity, and a reminder of human conflict. The ideal was peace, but reality was messier. Still, the truce made the Olympics unique. For a moment, enemies became rivals, not warriors. But the threat of violence was never far away. The ancient Olympics weren't just about sports. They were a massive religious festival. Everything honored Zeus. Athletes swore sacred oaths, and the schedule revolved around rituals. The highlight, sacrificing 100 oxen in a hecatomb. The air was thick with smoke and prayers before the competitions began. Winning meant you had the gods' favor. Olympia was filled with temples and altars, a sacred space, not just a stadium. Sports, religion, and politics were inseparable. The games were a spiritual experience as much as a physical one. For the Greeks, victory was divine. The Olympics were a celebration of body and soul. Cheating at the ancient Olympics? The punishment was public, permanent humiliation. Cheaters paid for bronze statues of Zeus, Zanes, lined up at the stadium entrance. Each statue had a plaque with the cheater's name, hometown, and crime. Every athlete walked past these monuments of shame. It was a walk of eternal disgrace. Disqualification was the least of your worries. Cheating meant funding your own public shaming, forever. The Greeks took fair play seriously. The ancient Olympics were savage, sacred, and unforgettable. From naked combat to cheaters' statues, these games were nothing like today's polished spectacle. They shaped the world of sports, and left a legacy of glory and shame. So, would you survive the original Olympics? Let us know in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and join us next time for more wild history. Thanks for watching.